All right, 1988, Metallica. Metallica, Before the Fall. But boy, were they ever at their highest peak before that fall. I mean, they were gods amongst mice. The way their trajectory shot up since the humble beginnings of 1983 with their first album. Every album displayed such an incredible musical growth that you didn't really see that in other bands. Most bands, in large part, they sounded the same from one album to the next, with small inclinations of progress and what have you. But Metallica were just taking leaps and bounds, like freaking Superman himself. And of course, not many people really admit it, but it was obvious that it was all due to Cliff Burton. Cliff Burton was really the master and commander of that ship. He told people how to navigate, where to navigate, and when to navigate. He really molded the band as a true conductor. Cliff did take classes. He took, I believe, classical and I don't know, composing classes, arrangement classes, and that explains why he was such a force in the metal world. I mean, the other guys in Metallica are extremely lucky because those guys, with the exception of Kirk Hammett, those other guys were just, they learned on their own. James Hetfield didn't take any classes. They just practiced their asses off and did what most other, musicians of the kind would do, which is just emulate and learn as you go. And then, eventually musicians progress if they keep at it. And that's what they did. But with Cliff Burton by their side, he corrected all their mistakes. He really elevated the band high above most other bands of the time. And even when they got up to the most incredible album that any band has ever done, especially aggressively heavy music-wise, Master of Puppets it literally is a masterpiece. It's a master work. There's so many layers and the intricacies of the melodies and just the compositional arrangement alone is far beyond most other bands. You can have really heavy and complicated stuff out there, but if it doesn't flow right, it's not gonna become legendary. And they absolutely did it with Master of Puppets. I'm not knocking Ride the Lightning, and that's an amazing album as well. But that was just an evolutionary step towards the sophisticated, masterwork, the pinnacle. And who knows how incredible Justice might have been with Cliff Burton at the helm, as he was at the helm with Master. We'll never know. What we got was an inkling. We had his just his inspiration and his teachings left over, and I think like several compositions of his riffs or ideas that the guys had to take on and give a full form to. And in that regards, you can hear the how do you say the weakness in the album, because it doesn't flow exactly perfectly. Like, it's a great album, it is iconic, and it is legendary, but somehow you can tell that there was something missing, and that something was someone. And it's a damn shame. that life just gives us these situations, and we have to, bear the grunt of it, and we have to deal with the sadness and the sorrow of losing such an iconic, masterful musician, which affects not only the fans, but basically the genre and the music scene itself. And especially as time goes on, you can just see the deviating timeline, tipping down. It's like we're heading downwards. It's called the downward spiral, people. And yeah, we all witnessed the tragedies in so many layers of tragedies since then. But where were we? We were talking about the mic drop. Metallica did a mic drop. They did that one video, which they said they would never do videos. They would never sell out. But here they did it. But guess what? They did it with integrity. And they sent out a very biting, snarky message to society and the government and the military in general with that video is almost like an art piece. It's half commentary and half film sequences from a film that mostly nobody knew. It's an underground film that kind of takes a shot at what the government and the government officials do to the youth and the society of their country for nefarious gains, like under the guise of democracy, under the guise of protecting the country, when in all reality, all it is just America, the machine, the hungry, never satisfied machine that devours other countries for their resources. So the people in power here can gobble it all up and build a little financial pyramids, their financial empires out of the blood, sweat, and tears of other countries. And this is what Metallica brought to light. And I have zero doubt that the government, that the military, it got involved. They probably had a meeting with Metallica's management, with probably Metallica themselves, James Hetfield and Lars, and they probably excluded Kirk because he's an innocent bystander, sweet little guy. You can't really go and scream at such a sensitive, innocent soul. But I bet you anything, Hetfield and Ulrich were probably threatened. Their families threatened. And they had to cease and desist after the album was done and they're touring, and they had to stop making any more songs, and especially videos that go on MTV to influence the youth, the future soldiers, the future lemming soldiers that are going to do the bidding of these billionaires in charge. So that's a one big reason, not all of it, but I think that is one huge reason why Metallica went sideways. They did a mic drop on society. They told people, hey, this is your freaking society. Maybe you should do something about it. We're just here to tell it how it is. And of course, people just forget it. And they move on and they go to their 40-hour-a-week slavery, and they concentrate on their own little family nucleus and pay all their taxes and whatnot. The society, unless you take away their comforts, they'll never revolt. And as long as it's only like a very small percentage of the society that is a victim of the government manipulation, then things just keep marching along, just fine and dandy. Unless something huge happens that's out of anyone's, perspective. But, regardless. So Metallica just was the band of the 80s because they rose on their own accord. They give a big F you to the commerce, to the record labels. They all wanted to mold them and tell them what to do, what to wear, what to sing, what to write, how to write, how to perform. Like these guys were just jeans, high tops, sneakers, whatever, and shirts. That's it. There's no makeup involved. There's no pushing of flash cars. There's no pushing of materialism or strippers or drugs or anything that the Hollywood corporate machine really enjoyed. And as a result, they barely got any airplay anywhere. It was all college radio. It was all underground. And these guys just did it their way. And thank God that we at least have these mythical once gods that created that path that basically no one else could take unless they were just as worthy musically and creatively and etc. Which was we saw very little of. Most bands like that, they drift off into obscurity, and we never really hear of them again, except in small circles. But yeah, the mic drop, 1988, Metallica dipped after that. The guys after 1991, those were not the same people. Those were doppelgangers, and they were in it for the money and the perks of the rock, FM rock, industry. And they had a good time. They had a great time, and they made a lot of people very sad, and they made a lot of other, unwoke people or like unconscious people very happy, I guess. Ignorance is bliss, they say. But not for me, not for the rational minds out there. We miss what happened in the 80s with bands that did not bow down to the money system, to the money machine. And it's rare to see that now because money is scarce even for the people that obey the laws of commerce and the formulas out there that have to be followed if you want to make any money in the system. And unfortunately, what we have in the mainstream nowadays is absolutely sad and pathetic and disgusting. Bad Bunny my ass, okay? Country music sucks. Beyonce is atrocious. Everything in the mainstream is absolute horseshit. Sleep Token sucks. Falling in Reverse sucks. And all these freaking poser, tourists defending the mainstream garbage. They're absolute, like, shallow, hollow beings that are barely conscious. They're just freaking morons. We are, in fact, surrounded by idiots. Go anywhere in the world today, and you are immediately surrounded. The vast majority are just goddamn morons. Bad education, lack of culture, lack of awareness, lack of history knowledge. You name it, man. I mean, what the hell are we doing? Just seriously, just launch the Polaris. Like, the end doesn't scare us anymore because we're all practically the living dead. When there is no life, there's no culture, there's no celebration, and we're all just slaves, and we're surrounded by stupid people. We're basically all dead right now. And it's up to people that are awake to maybe make a video like this that no one really watches or cares about, because I'm spewing the obvious, and to the other people, I'm spewing absolute nonsense because they have no clue what is going on in the world and have no clue of what the world has been about, except for their own limited experience in the clutches of technology and mainstream influence and mandates. So, good luck out there. Enjoy.